The Punch TV. Adolfo no mama makwa baba ye the Punch TV so make sure say any day the kind na dey hwe channel ya na say obe subscribe dey ama no like no share we so abeja wadwen che e comment section ho enso e dey aka ye ho abusuafo say wa onim say the Punch TV dey ban current stories ne political affairs bia say the Punch TV dey dem ba kope abusuafo so amle america say story be flow so abebo form ama che say apai ama che say gentle ha the Punch TV abusuafo mma yenko hwe story ne mra ye ba ye de mu nchiremu nyina ebebre
enough to welcome us. I'll give you some clues. He's a physician by profession. He's a medical doctor. He's very outspoken. He's been in sports for a long time. When you think Accra Hearts of Oak, he's one of the names you will think of. And football, generally, in Ghana. Well, he's also a founding member of the MPP. I think that's the icing on the cake. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Nyaho Nyaho Tamaklo. He's been gracious enough to welcome us into his abode this Thursday morning. Doc, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
For joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. It has been a while. I guess it's only fitting to start off with how you have been. I was teasing you when we got in that the older you get, the younger you look. What's your secret?
That reminds me of what President of the U.S. said recently. He was asked a similar question. His answer was straightforward, and I think I will answer the same way too. Day in and day out, I get more handsome.
I see.
So it all depends on how I look after myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it the God factor?
Is
people have said that if you love God and if you reflect it in your daily life, it also impacts you. It shows spiritually. What is
spiritually? Well, I would not sort of deny that could be a factor, an important factor. But at the same time, as you as an individual looks after yourself, what you do to your physical body itself is very important. So that's the way I look at it.
And speaking of spirituality, I didn't mean to go here, but since it's come up, some people have asked, and I see your great-grandfather. Great-great-grandfather in there. What do you adhere to? Are you a traditionalist? Are you Christian? Are you Muslim? What are you?
Well, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
At the same time, I believe strongly in the roots I come from.
Right.
Strongly.
Right.
The old man you see there, that's the grandfather of my grandfather.
Right.
So it goes back quite long in history. I don't have to say much about him because a lot has been said about him, not just in this country, but outside the borders of this country. And I believe strongly in this tradition, the way he was a traditionalist. However, he was the same person who brought Roman Catholic Church to the Keta districts, all the way from Togo.
Interesting. He was Roman Catholic.
Exactly.
He was a traditionalist.
He was a traditionalist.
He brought the Catholic Church into the.
When he heard of the Roman Catholic
The
Church
Punch TV
being established somewhere in Togo in those days, he sent his own carriers. In those days, there were no vehicles. And they went and brought the people down to Keta. He gave them a land, which is there today, you can see. They built a school. They built a church, which is there till today.
Right.
And then they built a cemetery, which we call a churchyard, attached to this, to the church. And one interesting thing is that the wives wanted to find out what he would like to have in return. He said, I don't need anything, but make sure all my children go to this school free.
Oh, wow. What a wise choice. And they granted him that.
And that's how most of people got educated very early.
And of course, the spin-off effect, because
Absolutely.
then generations down the line,
Absolutely.
you also benefited from that
Oh,
system.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, we celebrate him as well, your great-grandfather, and the
Great,
wonderful
great.
things, great-great-grandfather, and the wonderful things he did in his life. Sometimes it's almost going back that far, great-great-grandfather, pardon me. But speaking of which, again, I just want to briefly, because we're talking about spirituality and all that, the National Cathedral, on the 6th of March, that was when, this year, we said we would have commissioned it and all of that. And it's still there, a big pit, nothing to show. And some of Ghana's taxpayers' money has been put in there, contrary to the promise that was given Ghanaians. How do you feel about that project?
If you will remember, the last interview I had with you, we spoke about that. And I said, it's unfortunate that state resources have been wasted on this. It's a waste. Nothing else, it's a waste.
It's a waste.
It's a waste.
If it's completed, it can still serve a touristic purpose.
When a government is in power, and that's the problem we face as Africans. Let's be very frank. And we fail to see our priorities. It shows clearly that we don't know where we are heading to. I mean, this is a nation in debt. This is a nation where the ordinary person take-home pay is less than $1. And you talk about National Cathedral. I mean, I can't understand it. Even to use it either as a policy or even your manifesto, or even as a private project, as the president told us from the word go.
But what if God had in fact told him to do this?
Exactly.
The
What if
Punch
God had
TV.
in fact told him to do this, like he
Look,
says?
we're all Christians. Unfortunately, we have around our political leaders religious people. And I believe strongly in practical religion.
Practical religion.
Yes.
Right. What exactly is that?
I mean, you do exactly what you preach. It's as simple as that.
Practice what
That's
you preach.
practical religion. And I must honestly stand up for Sheikh Sharabutu.
The national chief.
I am telling you, I have tremendous respect for that man. He's a pragmatist. You follow me? There are a lot of issues that have confronted this country, but for that man, there would have been disaster in this country. No one should joke about that. No one, no sane politician should take that as a joke. You promise people that you are going to build a cathedral. That's how the news came out initially. To honor God on certain promises that you have made to him.
Right.
Then it turned out to be a different story. By the time we realize state money is being pumped into it, look at the amount of money that has been pumped into that one. That can build a very complex 2 hospitals anywhere in the country.
And now we're being told the cost has ballooned hugely, not even the $400+ million we were looking at, but a lot more, multiples of that now, if we're going to complete it.
And you know what is even more ridiculous is that throughout history, at least what I have read, I have not come across a cathedral that has been built within even 10 years.
Right.
So what's the point? What exactly are we trying to, or the president wants to tell us? I don't understand it.
Interesting dynamics in there, because of course the Notre Dame and others have been built over the centuries, and even when it was gutted with fire, it took quite a while before it could be brought back to its current state. But I'm also interested in something. I see these wonderful lights here and all of that. I need to ask, do you have a generator or a plant or something?
I have a generator.
You have a generator?
I have a generator.
Okay,
because I was off the main distance. I just came back this morning.
Your lights went off?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so
yesterday even
thank God our host has a generator. I had to ask that question because of the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
What would you call this power outage? Because the term doomsday has been used and it's been pushed back heavily, fiercely by government, by even the ECG boss. What would you call what we're experiencing?
Look, I at times get so sad when I look at certain issues facing this country. Dishonesty is one thing that's destroying this country. Leaders not being honest with the people they are leading. This so-called doomsday didn't start today. As far as at the time of Jerry John Rawlings,
Indeed.
it started showing its ugly face.
Well, we're subsidizing electricity and later took it off.
Absolutely.
Right.
It got worse when Kufuor came to power, when I was an ambassador in Serbia. I had a call because the messages went around so that areas that probably heavy machinery can be used to generate power. So I was called and I was briefed about that. It was that serious. You follow me? Then came Atamils. Atamils managed it somehow. Then came John Mahama. And I think he tackled the fundamentals. That's the real problem facing the country.
And things came to a head for about 3 years.
Yes.
We had this power
Problem.
situation.
You follow me? Then we took over. I'm talking about NPP. With the promises that we gave all along, everybody expected us to carry on very well. I don't want to go into so-called, agreement signed with companies. I don't have interest in that. But at least it is the duty of government to make sure that the citizenry are given power to work with.
Are they failing in that duty?
Of course, yes. Look at what is happening in the country now.
But they keep pushing back and saying it is not because we lack the finances. It's not because we lack the capacity. There are some challenges. ECG will tell you we're doing maintenance here and there. Others will tell you, oh, the IPPs, there are some disagreements, but we are working things out. ECG has to give them some money. I listened to the ECG boss recently, Mr. Apetogbo, the representative for the IPPs, was saying one thing. The ECG boss was also on another trajectory. At some point, they converged. But the point being that no one wants to take blame for where we are.
Just before you came, I was watching TV3. And there's this lady who I respect a lot.
Right.
That's Madam Jantua.
Right.
Look.
Of the CPP.
Of the CPP.
Right.
Her analysis was perfect. This morning, just about 15 minutes ago.
Right.
And I'll go by what she said.
Which was what?
Because she has been there before. He said we don't have money to buy fuel, gas, and other things. Full stop. No, that's why I keep on saying that if a leader is not honest with his people, he falls into this sort of traps. This government has not been honest. This government has not been honest with his people right from the word go.
But if you say that, you are then saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Mr. President, the first gentleman of the Republic, is dishonest. Is that what you're saying?
It's not being honest with the people of this country.
From day one?
But from day one. Even right when you were sworn in. You know it. You are a journalist.
Oh, are you referring to his speech?
Of course, yes. That should have alarmed us. Even though I've warned Ghanaians the days before that they shouldn't vote him in.
I remember that video.
Yes.
I remember.
That should have alarmed
But these are mistakes that do happen. I mean, his speech was written for him. These are mistakes that do happen. How can you fault him for that?
What do you mean by they are mistakes that do happen?
I mean, once in a while,
a head of state, a Ghanaian head of state. Even if a speech has been written for him, he should go through the speech.
But even the presidents of Harvard and others have been cited for some plagiarism here and there and other places. So many of them. You've seen them. I mean,
if the president of Harvard, you are talking about, In fact, I think it's a lady, really. It's a lady.
Well,
it's a lady.
gay is no longer another person.
Yeah, but it's another. But the lady you are talking about, if I read things clearly, she came out. Has our government done that? You see, these are the things. You see, when you have a system that right from the word go cannot operate well, you see it. At least I can see it. Right. And that is exactly what is happening now. We are completely saddled with corruption. Corruption has totally swallowed this country. Rule of law is completely absent. Ethnocentrism.
The rule of law is absent. Akufo-Addo, one of the things he's always touting is the rule of law. It is absent.
Don't confuse general rule of law,
right,
with parties' own protection. Parties' own protection is just like what Akufo did. We have the so-called militia. And remember what happened recently at that constituency, just behind me here. Look, to set up a militia, history has shown clearly that with time they will swallow you. Adolf Hitler did it. How did he end? Mussolini did it. How did he end? This man in Spain, General Franco, did it. How did he end? I mean, at least if you don't know it, let history teach you. You understand me?
You will be victimized. What do you make of free SHS?
I think I remember before Nana Addo became president, I think he had an interview with Al Jazeera, if I'm right.
I remember that interview.
And he spoke pretty well. And he made mention of this free HSS. Not just Al Jazeera, with BBC too, with BBC as well. And I think on the BBC program, the host pushed him to a corner. That how do you find this? Because huge amounts of money will be involved. The man kept on pushing repeatedly. And Addo, as I know, was able to maneuver out of him. Now, free SHS has been in our constitution for years. In fact, it's one of the policies of the old man, Kwame Nkrumah himself.
Right.
But it is supposed to be done progressively. Right. It's there in black and white. Why didn't we go by that method? Of course, it's a huge political, agenda. That was used to gain votes, and we did get the votes from that, for that. But has it really served the people of this country, or it has worsened their situation? That's a question that we should ask ourselves.
What do you think?
I think it's a question that it has worsened their situation based on what your own findings are now.
But how about the other angle? People who ordinarily, maybe because of money constraints, monetary constraints, would not have been in school, are now getting to go to school, are now getting to actualize their dreams. Who knows what they could become? How about that side?
Have you been able, in your research recently, come out a few names that have been able to benefit from it?
But you can look
if
at
you
the
have
general,
not,
you,
then
you can look at the general enrollment, which has shot up by
no general enrollment really
doesn't.
No. If you go by those figures, figures are. I don't take figures seriously in this country. I don't, because it's nothing than a bunch of lies.
You don't believe the figures?
I don't believe in figures in this.
No.
Abusuafo story no na yakɔhwɛ de aba no na kyerɛ sɛ nsɛm kɔ so Ghana ha nsɛm kɔ so kurom ha kyerɛ sɛ de hia sɛ obenya wo data na obɛba ntentan no so abusuafo kyerɛ sɛ wobetumi asere a wobetumi adwa wani betumi agye a na kyerɛ sɛ social media no so de so bia etimi eba so sɛ de nkɔfoɔ ka sɛ digital no no Nien blaso na eso enche. Me a me di dwumadi ho chia me frɛ me Nana Addo. Uhumi so now from NY Jam so na mama piao. Peace out.
Yama owi akwa baba Mansa Media College. Mansa Media College a school power ya che TV so any radio so dwumadie. Ya so ye e Kumase atonsu. Baby a uwo bia opese ba Mansa Media College a. Na be hu dwumadie yedi ni hono a. Yentie dwumadie yedi no Mansa Media College.
Se usua bribi wo media mu. Ana opese ohunu bibi biara efa media ho enso eche kra
Mansa Media College e wo homam
ye wa atwetwefo a wa kwadire yie wa adetwe mu na in studio ni ye newsroom de editwam wonsam twemu no ye twe bibi ti se kasebo akenkan ni sinitwa ni bebura ekeka ho wa multimedia mu nso ye twe bibi ti se sini mfoni asiesie mfoni nitwa ni bebura ekeka ho ye betumi so aboa ama wo de na otwepe asunya bribi wo nkitahudie adwuma ahodo nyinaa mu esan se ye wo yankasa foni nti abwe biara ye ma ya adesuafo kwan ma okọ yode ya twerɛ won adesua dan mu no
ahwefo ehu ekame ese obi biara wo le bosomtwe ase enim abakosema efa nsuo ihu menya abofra kitua bi wa ha ono so se onim abakosema efa le bosomtwe ho
abusuafo ye mama kwaba eba Ghana Pages TV so emra so se the trending issues near koso ewo abe for time fidie ni so ebe somo midin Nana Addo wa akode
Mansa Media College ya ma de we hia bia wo nkutahudie mu